terms of the transparency of community organisations, for instance? Obviously, most of them are companies will do a company return, but within that you can conceal any amount of stuff, really. I'm just wondering about whether you feel there should be a quid pro quo. You know, if the local authority is going to be more transparent, shouldn't the third sector be more transparent?
I would certainly say there should be a level playing field, and I wouldn't single out voluntary organisations necessarily, but I think whoever's delivering public services and spending public money, and it could be all sorts of organisations, as we've heard today, from mutuals to private sector companies to big corporates to small community groups. And I think it's got to be proportionate, because I can imagine that there will be small community groups who will be deterred from taking on a kind of wider role delivering services, because I think there will be requirements that they're not set up to deliver. So I think it does have to be proportionate. But I do think if we're spending public money, we should be open and transparent and accountable for how you do it. That's what would be the fundamental principle.
Any more?
Just ask, I'm a councillor from West Greenwich. Could we just ask what happened when the community groups or the one third sector sets something up and it goes belly up? Who then is accountable for that? Who would be responsible for setting it up? Because under the big society rules, another pressure group could say, well, we want to retain that. And then there's an issue about whether it is retained or not, and the councillor, who may not have had any influence in setting up the first sector anyway, whatsoever, but then he ends up accountable too. And therefore there is a question on the third sector of how they become accountable if they want to set up a social enterprise or any of that nature. That there's got to be some sort of an accountability as to who's responsible for any failures that occur. And I think there's a big gap in there at the moment about the role of the council. And just another issue that's not touched on, there's never a mention of councillors that are in opposition. An entirely different role than being in control. And the role is entirely different. And I've noticed it's not mentioned, it just refers to councillors.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So on your first point, I think you're absolutely right. I think it is something that hasn't been answered adequately. And I posed the same question to Francis actually when I heard him speak about that presentation that he did today at another event. So what happens if you set up someone and it takes it on and something goes wrong, or it's not delivering the full range of services that they feel it ought to. They've got a particular interest as a community group in a particular set of provision, and it might be excluding another group. And he said, well, that's very interesting, but if you're the local authority and you think we should provide, as a new social enterprise, you think we should provide different things, you'll have to commission us to do it. And we'll take account of you as we take account of any customer, but meanwhile we've got another big project going on every year that we're going to go away and get involved in. So I think there is a slightly kind of glib answer that I've heard from those proponents of some of this. It says, well, it would be for the organisation to decide for themselves what they do, and that they can go away and it's in effect a free market, and they can do different things. But I think it then comes back to your point about what happens if it's not delivering the right thing. It's actually physically gone wrong in some way, and his answer is, well, there's a high appetite for risk, which I don't think really cuts it. And that's why I think there needs to be thought given now to how these arrangements are set up. So there are mechanisms for, bringing things back in, or seeing if there can be other providers out there. But that's why I think the role of the councillor as a kind of mediator and a guardian of the public interest. The councillors have to be part of the mix and of the decision making. Which comes to the point about opposition councillors. They're going to have a much lesser role in the sort of strategic decisions of the council because they're not in the majority. Scrutiny can provide a role for the opposition to challenge, at least if not make decisions, then certainly to challenge. There are initiatives in a range of councils of different complexions. It's not a party political thing, where ward councillors have had budgets at local level, and so that gives some decision making power to councillors, whichever party they're from. But I think all of it needs to be done within a system of governance where it's really clear who is making the decision. And I think in a way, perhaps, I don't know, perhaps it doesn't matter who physically makes the decision, as long as everyone knows who it was and knows how they could influence the decision and knows who to go to if it's gone wrong. So I think it's about a culture of openness across the piece. But I don't think the answers are there yet.
Opposition council?
Well, I was picking up saying that that scrutiny can provide one way for opposition councillors to have an influence, and there is the kind of public challenge, and there's the campaigning and being out in the community, telling people why you think the other guys have got it wrong. So it's what opposition councillors would have always done.
Any final comments, questions? One final from John, and then we'll. Thanks, John.
Councillor John Lamb, I think I'll wear the Trafford Council hat about this one. I think I'm a bit more optimistic than Jessica perhaps about the role of the opposition councillor with the opportunities that might come around with big society. If we accept that the big society approaches are very much coming from bottom up and also by definition need to be very small and very local, then I'd find it difficult to see how councillors in any ward, regardless of where that ward is, can't have that that important role of influencing, signposting and all those other quite good things that a local councillor could get involved in. So maybe, I hope I didn't misunderstand you, but maybe I'm a little bit more optimistic about that than perhaps you are.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think it's a challenge. I think not all councillors have seen that as being their role. They're more comfortable perhaps in the town hall meetings, having a concept of their role as making decisions. But I think, if you see the role as being much wider, what I was trying to encapsulate with the four images of the councillor's role, it could operate at sort of strategic level or at very, very local level. And I think that's important. We've got to see councillors really embedded in their local communities and at the heart of all of those networks, so they can, direct people to, say, the local leisure centre is now run by this organisation. This is how you go and get involved with them. And there's this community group which do really good work in your local area. If you've got this concern, go and talk to them and get involved. And so if councillors know all about that, they can really play that signposting role, which I think is really important. I think there are opportunities through social media as well to use that to kind of get a picture of everything that's going on in a local area, and the councillors to use that. But all of that needs support and some development and training, and it's probably a different role for officers that support councillors. Member support has traditionally been about processing casework. I think it's got to go a lot further than that, and councillors have got to support it to take on some of these new roles. And there's challenges as well as opportunities.
Thank you. Can I invite you to thank Jessica and all the rest of the speakers?